Vasyl Lomachenko donates $600,000 of his purse to Teofimo Lopez in order to make the lightweight unification bout a stark reality. So Vasyl Lomachenko, he was projected to make or proposed to make $3.25 million. Now it's been reduced to $2.65 million. And Lopez's initial purse goes from $1.2 million to $1.8 million. Rodney, are you a bit surprised about this, or is this just the realism of the boxing business coming to fruition?
I think it's just the realism of the current state of affairs of boxing right now. You have to look at, really start making a business decision kind of like right now. So if you have a bird in a hand and you have a possibility to make some money and feed your family, that should take precedence over boxing politics right now. Because let me tell you, these fights are no guarantee they're going to come back around, or you just can't say next 4 or 5 months I'll be fighting again. So I think, you have an opportunity to make a fight. So I think it was a very classy move by Lomachenko, and I think he's showing his Teofimo Lopez that, you know what, you said some pretty harsh things, what you was going to do to me. Now you're going to have to back it up now, because, see, now I'm willing to reduce my pay to give you the opportunity for everything that you said. Well, now it's time for you to stand and deliver. Because if you don't, well, guess what? That really could be a reflection of you now. So I really, applaud Lomachenko for taking that disposition. I really do.
Absolutely, guys, and once again, both men have had to, because this fight, when you look at all the marbles at 135, right, this is to be the man at 135. Lomachenko, obviously not only the ring champion at 135, but he's also one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And so this fight should be worth a lot more, but because we don't have the live gate, because we don't have the benefit of the pay-per-view platform or closed circuit, they're both having to take reduced money to make this fight a reality. But I think at this stage, boxing needs that shot in the arm with great matchups, and this has been projected for October 3rd. But there's a greater reason, though, and this is something that fight fans need to understand, Rodney. There's another reason why this happened. And it's one of the things that fans, and I can't stand all this talk. Like, whenever I go to forums or I'll hear guys actually talk about, Lomachenko's ducking Lopez, or all that talk from Lopez, he's ducking Vasyl Lomachenko. He's pricing himself out. Guys, the reality is, okay, and I can't stand when people talk about ducking, right? Because that's a fan-driven concept that genuinely doesn't exist in the sport of boxing. Either a fight makes sense, a matchup either makes sense or it doesn't at a specific point in a fighter's respective career. There is no such thing as ducking in the business. Now, there is such a thing as a risk versus reward factor, right? But once again, it either makes sense for a specific fighter in their respective careers. But, Rodney, it's like people don't understand. For all intents and purposes, these guys are business partners. Regardless of what they say to the media, regardless of what they actually say in Twitter or on Facebook, they're business partners. Let me put it this way. Like, here's proof of this, right? Here's some quotes from Vasyl Lomachenko, right? He said this on what's called Loma TV. It's his YouTube channel, right? They said, hey, how do you feel about all the trash talking that Teofimo Lopez has said in the build-up to the fight? And he goes, he's great. I've already said it. He's doing all the work for both of us. I don't need to shout anything. I don't need to proclaim anything at all. I don't need to tease him or humiliate him. He does it all. He's doing a great job promoting the fight. They're all doing it with his dad, by the way, and they're doing it really well. That's why. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
They're business partners. And like let me put it this way, right? Rodney, if you and I did something, like if we had a radio show and I knew my success, I couldn't have it without my partnership or my collaborative effort with you, and we both made $1 million, and I knew it was by your hard work as well as mine, you would be receiving, sir, for the rest of my natural life, a nice Christmas fruit basket every year. Commemorate. Like, have you guys ever wondered why these fighters will meet, like after they've retired, and they'll see each other at the WBC convention, and they'll embrace each other, and they'll take pictures together smiling, and that's because they just made each other millions of dollars. Like, did you remember how poorly Roberto Duran treated Sugar Ray Leonard in the promotion of that fight? Said he was more man than him and he was going to beat the tar out of him.
Yep. Yes, sir.
And then you see them now laughing and embracing with each other and taking pictures, and you know what they're saying. Oh, yeah, boy, we made each other a lot of money, didn't we?
Yep.
So, Rodney, what are your thoughts on this, man? And is this something, it's almost like kayfabe, right? Do you know what kayfabe is, Rodney, with WWE, WWF, old wrestling? It was the soap opera, and you had to keep that facade up that they really, the bad guys really hated the good guys in wrestling. It's almost like kayfabe in boxing, right? What are your thoughts on this? And is this something that, for the health of the sport and for the benefit of the fans, the fighters kind of play this role and they act like they hate each other?
Oh, yeah. Well, again, we have to understand that this is the entertainment business as well as the boxing business. And guys like Teofimo, I think they are a valued commodity in the sport. You need guys like that, especially in a climate like this where, a fight has to be promoted as much as possible because, as I said, with all the restrictions, with the lack of gate, pay-per-view, restrictions as well, a guy like Teofimo can drum up that interest and everything. And it's going to be some that's going to, based off of his promotion, give him the benefit of the doubt to think that he can back it up and win. So I think that it's great, though. And as I said, no one is ducking. 135 is such a talent laden division with some real young guns and studs. So, I think it's going to bring more light to the fighters there. And I think by us having Teofimo and Lomachenko, that's going to create buzz for Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, and I think it's going to have just a good domino effect, though. But nevertheless, though, the fight is almost signed. Last I checked, they said they were going to have it ironed out by the end of the week, Joseph. As far as
that's right. It's projected to be signed, sealed, and delivered by the end of the week, and they're still targeting. And I love this. They're still targeting October 3rd, Rodney.
Perfect.
Boy,
That's
it
perfect.
Can't come soon enough.
So, with said, hopefully this creates a positive trend for other fighters or other fighters with, no loss on their record, a lot at stake to say, you know what, maybe 3-4 years ago we could have held out and asked for a different amount or type of purse. But, now, man, with such uncertainty, we have to cooperate a little bit better. And you're right. Win, lose, or draw, I need my opposition just as much as he needs me right now. Because at the end of the day, we got into this sport because we love it, but we got to feed our family as well. So I hope that sentiment becomes more and more as we, deal with these just new and unpredictable times with, the way boxing is being shown in the platform right now.
Indeed, very well said, brother. And, and that's the reality, guys. Now, of course, these guys understand, and when they get in the ring, they're looking at their opponent saying, this guy is trying to keep me from reaching the land of milk and honey. And they're fierce competitors, and their egos will not allow them to think any other way in the ring. But outside of the ring, guys, both of these gentlemen are business partners, and that's the reality of it. This guy's ducking. No, stop it. But I tell you what, you know what, Rodney, here's something else. And I just heard this interview, right, with Jorge Linares. He's been in the ring with Vasyl Lomachenko before. Very spirited effort. Excellent fight several years ago. I think it was back in 2017.
Right.
And he stated this recently on an interview. I just saw this just a couple days ago on Fight Hub TV, in which he stated Vasyl Lomachenko is still a very good fighter, and he's still very smart with a really high ring IQ. He goes, but he's not the same. He's not the same guy. This is a different fighter. I don't know if it's because of all the wear and tear, the 400 amateur fights, the fact that he's 32, but he is not the same guy who I fought in 2017. Yes, Teofimo Lopez, he's going to give him a lot of trouble, he said, but this is not the same guy. Your thoughts on that, and have you seen the same thing in his last 3 fights?
Well, he hasn't looked as dynamic in his last 3 fights. Now, with that being said, sometimes a guy like Lomachenko can be so good to where it's like, you know what, I can beat this guy really just with minimal effort, okay? So it just depends on how we want to look at it. But I will say this, though. He took some punishment in the fight with Linares as well. And boxing is one of those sports where, I've seen it where you can grow old overnight. I've seen it happen in all my years of watching. Now, I don't want to put that label on Lomachenko. But Linares, one thing I will give him credit, he's a very, very smart, technical-like fighter. So for him to say something like that does raise an eyebrow, okay, because maybe he's seeing something that the overall public is not seeing because he has such an experienced and keen eye. So it's going to be very interesting to see if there's any significant slippage in Lomachenko, because at this level, all it takes is 1 to 2 to 3% slippage to where you're ordinary and not so much extraordinary in this boxing game.
Indeed, and when you're taking on a young badass like Teofimo Lopez, who is explosive, has been blessed with cat-like reflexes, and, boy, he's got great explosive power in both hands. When you're taking on a real stud like Teofimo Lopez, can you afford any slippage, Rodney?
No, there's no room for error. Because, see, that's the thing with Lopez. See, his power gives him a hell of a shot. He's a live dog, whether we like it or not, because his power is such a game changer. Now, as I said, it's going to be interesting with Lomachenko being such a skilled fighter, man, such a ring IQ. On the same token, Teofimo hasn't faced that type of excellence, I believe, yet. He's been able to, fight fighters with, some pretty decent resume and some pretty, but, man, this is such a different level of competition. But as I said, though, I wouldn't discard what Linares said because, to be honest, man, Linares gave Lomachenko everything he could handle.
He floored him for the first time in his career. He caught him with a straight right hand down the middle. Vasyl Lomachenko did a great job coming back the following round, but and he ended up getting the late round stoppage. But don't forget, Jorge Linares touched him up a bit and caught him with a straight right hand. Now, since then, think about this, Rodney. Think about this. Since after 2015, right? Lomachenko garnered the moniker of Nomaschenko. Remember that? Because he had retired 8 consecutive fighters, right? Caused 5 guys consecutively to quit on their stools. And since then, he's had kind of a mixed bag of results. Obviously, he's been victorious, but against Jose Pedraza, a guy that Gervonta Davis blew out of the water, right? He went on to get a unanimous decision, hard-fought victory over Jose Pedraza, blew out the way overmatched Anthony Crolla, right? No one thought that was going to be close. But then he struggled a little bit against the very affable Luke Campbell, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And we're gonna be talking about him a little later on in the show. Looks like he's reached an agreement. He and Eddie Hearn, his promoter, have reached an agreement with Ryan Garcia and Golden Boy Promotions. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later in the show. But that's, so maybe, perhaps, Jorge Linares is onto something. We'll see. But once again, like you stated earlier, perhaps Vasyl Lomachenko just didn't get up for those fights. Perhaps we're going to see a truly motivated Vasyl Lomachenko. Well, time will reveal everything, and I tell you what, October 3rd can't get here any sooner. I love it. Thank you so much, Top Rank, for bringing us this fight, and thank you, business partners Lomachenko and Lopez, for getting this thing done. Expect this contract to be signed by both parties within the next couple of days, guys. We should hear an announcement very soon. Your final thoughts on this, Rodney, before we start talking about Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn trying to make Terrence Crawford versus Kell Brook for November?
Well, subsequently, I personally I'm just excited to see this type of fight of this magnitude take place. I think we have a situation to where the promoters realize we have to strike now. Okay, we can't wait. And I think regardless what happens, I think win, lose, or draw, both Lomachenko and Teofimo will still be able to have a outstanding career and still get those big money fights going forth because they're setting a precedent saying, you know what, the best are going to fight the best, and I think they'll be rewarded in the future because they're setting the foundation in the place for bigger persons going forward.
Very well said, brother. And the last thing I'm going to say about this is, one, Canelo, I hope you're paying attention because that's how it's done. Rather than trying to shake down DAZN for every penny and trying to actually, make your opponents take lesser money, perhaps it should be the other way around. Just get the damn fight done, or else you're going to be on the shelf till 2021. Thanks for playing, brother.